Howard Zinn was a bombardier during World War II, but he soon turned against war. He taught at Boston University and was a lifelong political activist. He's author of the wonderful epigram, "There is no flag large enough to cover the shame of killing innocent people." He also wrote this classic paragraph: "Civil disobedience is not our problem. Our problem is civil obedience. Our problem is that numbers of people all over the world have obeyed the dictates of the leaders of their government and have gone to war, and millions have been killed because of that obedience. Our problem is that people are obedient all the world over in the face of poverty and starvation and stupidity and war and cruelty. Our problem is that people are obedient while the jails are full of petty thieves, and all the while the grand thieves are running and robbing the country. That's our problem." Here's an interview I did with Howard Zinn after he spoke on the New Haven Green on May Day in 2007. And I was thrilled to hear about your new book. What's the exact title?
Young People's History of the United States. It's a new version, I guess, adaptation of my book, A People's History of the United States. It's intended for, I guess, young people of middle school age, on the supposition that the regular book might be a little too difficult. Not too much difficult, a little too difficult for kids, let's say, who are, I don't know, 11 or 12,
Now, you must have read some of the standard texts and been unhappy with it.
Oh, yes. Yes, the standard texts made me unhappy. And people were always asking me to recommend a book that would give a more progressive, more critical approach to the history of the country. And since I couldn't think of one, I decided to write it myself.
Now, where do you start? A lot of, I taught high school, and people would start with Columbus, get bogged down in the explorers, and no one ever found out who won World War I. But how do you start the book?
Well, I actually start the book with Columbus simply because history courses generally start with Columbus, and I wanted to start right out debunking the Columbus myth. I wanted to challenge what is the most universally accepted in education, especially in childhood education, universally accepted picture of Columbus as a great man, an adventurer, an explorer, somebody whose courage and, I guess, religiosity should be admired. I wanted immediately to dispel that by telling the truth about what Columbus did to the indigenous people he encountered in the Bahamas. So I thought, yeah, I'll start with what I thought would be the most startling information for generations of Americans who've grown up with the Columbus myth.
And what is the most startling thing about Columbus?
Well, the most startling thing about Columbus is that his main motive was not a scientific one, not simply, oh, I'm going to find new territories. His main motive was not religious, oh, I'm going to, find some heathens and convert them to Christianity. His main motive was gold. His main motive was to find the riches that he could bring back to Spain and to, his financial supporters in Europe. And so in pursuit of that goal, he rounded up Indians, tried to get them to lead him to gold, and if they didn't find the right amount of gold, he punished them. He cut off their arms. He tortured them. He kidnapped hundreds of them and brought them back to Spain when he had nothing else to show his Spaniards, entrepreneurs, and so he started that long history of murder and mistreatment of indigenous people, which then continued through the next centuries in the history of this country.